Welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life, and on today's episode we're going to start knocking out interior doors in the house, but we have to do some prep work and all before we get ready to hang those. So one of the issues we're going to have right here is you can see that the sheetrock wasn't cut all the way back to the wood studs here and to the door frame. So we're going to have to trim that back. I probably should have did that before I laid these floors because I'm going to make a heck of a mess, but I just didn't catch it in time. We're gonna clean off big chunks of splatter like that. And like I said, do majority of trimming back. That way the doorway will fit in there properly. So as I've often shown before, I just take a really old worn out oscillating tool blade. This one was for wood or metal, I can't really remember, but it doesn't matter. When it comes to cutting sheetrock, this works great using an old blade. If you use a new blade, it's gonna dull it quickly. Man, oh man, what a mess. This house is gonna need one heck of a cleaning once we move in. All right, so as you can see, this is one reason I wanted to go ahead and put my flooring in first. I had no door jambs to cut underneath, slide flooring under, and now I'm not gonna have to cut my door jambs. I can put the door in, probably technically right on the floor. It's not gonna pin it down, it's not very heavy. Or I can use shims to space it up slightly off of the floor. I think I'm just gonna go straight to the floor for a nice clean look here. There's no reason the floor shouldn't still expand and contract underneath this. The weight just isn't there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide the door in. Keep in mind, they do come pin and locked from the factory, so the door cannot swing out of the jamb. So I had to take a little black plastic screw out of the handle. Very easy to see. You won't get the door in the frame until you take that out. And then there's a plug still holding the door in. We'll pull that out in just a second. So let me go ahead and slide this in, pull that plug out, open it up, and then we'll start getting ready to shim this in place. All right, so here's that plug that I took out of the door so it can swing freely. We'll go ahead and just start working this in, eyeballing everything, making sure that the door frame is nice and wide enough to allow the door to still close. We can go ahead and check that out right now. Not a problem at all. Actually, I can see where we're gonna have to shim it closed, which is perfectly normal. So another thing I'm also checking out is the gap at the bottom of the door. If it was too large of a gap, this is a time that you can cut your the bottom of your frame off and actually lower the door down. I, for one, want to leave somewhat of a gap, especially for a room like this. This is a pantry to allow some nice free-flowing movement because we also have air conditioner vents in this room. All right, so one thing I'm gonna do is remove one of the screws out of the hinge. As you can see, they're quite short. Then I'm gonna take some of these 2-inch drywall screws right here, and I'll run one all the way through into this door frame. And I'm gonna do this to keep my door straight up and down and plumb. So it looks like this wall is plumb as it should be. So I'm just gonna bring this door out flush with this wall, and I can reach my hand behind and tell, because I bought the correct size jamb right here, it is flush to either side. Now that screws to just hold everything in place more than anything else right now, because we still want to shim this door frame in and out. So the reason we want this door jamb flush with the drywall on both sides is because this particular set of doors that I purchased did not come with outside trim. A lot of them do. And you can actually sandwich the frame together, and then they already have the trim built in for the wall. But my wife wanted these specific 2-panel type doors. It's a look that she really wanted, and none of them were offered with outside trim. So what that means is I'm gonna have to come back with a piece of trim later that goes onto the drywall and will actually attach to this door frame, and then we'll caulk, seal everything in, and paint it. So it's definitely critical that I am flush out here as well as with the sheetrock on the inside. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing down here. Pop one screw out. And put one long one all the way in to this door frame. So now it cannot shift or go anywhere. And I'm about as flush as I'm gonna get. All right, so now that plastic's removed, we can close and start checking what's called our reveal. So long story short, what that means is this very large gap that we're gonna have here, we're gonna wanna close that up by shimming, by putting wood shims back here against the wall, and we wanna get a nice even reveal. All right, because there's so much more of a gap on this side of the door than this side, I'm gonna start working some shims and over here, pushing this door frame out there to try to even up the spacing. Then I'll take up the last of the slack with some wood shims on this side. So essentially I'm just centering the door up in the opening. Now on this side, I'll close the door, which I just did, make sure my reveal is accurate up top. I'll just pop a quick brad nail in. All right, so now I'll close the door and start checking this gap all the way down. As you can see, the bottom is too far out that way. So I will start slowly working down the door frame with some shims until I start getting the reveal that I'm looking for. All right, and once I get this spaced off the wall correctly for the door gap opening, I'll pop another brad through the frame and actually through my wedges that I have in place. All right, so now I can take my oscillating tool and cut these shims off. All right, so this is a point where you can install your door handles, latch plates, and go ahead and trim out the frames. Now we currently don't have our trim. We're going to pick that out and price everything more than anything. It's so ridiculously high here lately. I may wind up buying router bits and building my own trim. We're gonna figure that out. The other thing too is, even though these doors come pre-finished, I'm gonna take them back off the hinges and go outside and paint them all. Plus these door frames need to be painted. One, after I put the trim up, and two, I need to fill in all these nail holes to where I just attached everything. And then caulk all the seams, paint it in place. So the other thing we think that we're gonna do is we're gonna swap out these brushed nickel hinges right here and go with black hinges and black door handles. A lot of y'all have been watching the channel and know that we are sticking with a black theme in the house because we have black exposed trusses, with this being a pole barn house. So I think if we convert everything over to black, it'll look nice against these white doors. All right, y'all. Well, we have doors in now. Kind of. Still a lot of work left to do, but they're hung. The frames are permanently in place. That was the key today. So it looks mighty weird looking down here now, not looking in rooms that you've stared at for almost the last year. Crazy, absolutely crazy. So I was talking with Tiffany. We're definitely gonna go with black door handles. And heck, she's saying, just leave those hinges like that. We'll see if my OCD will let me. Now things like this right here, the pantry, this door will always remain closed. No point leaving that open. However, the bedroom, the bathroom, all these doors, well, they're probably just gonna stay open unless we have company over and we just don't want to show off something. It's kind of how that typically works out. Obviously we'll use, you know, the bathroom door when we're using the bathroom. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room right here. Y'all are sharp. I can't get a lot past y'all. So if you notice, the hinges are on the outside of this door. That's because that half bath is too small for a big 36-inch door to swing in. And a lot of people are gonna ask, why didn't y'all do pocket doors? That was originally in our plans to do pocket doors in both of these walls siding this direction. But after talking with quite a few people, a lot of people seem concerned and almost everybody seemed to have problems with hardware, with tracks, doors not fitting good. Some even talked about having to rip the walls out to change the entire system out. We decided, heck no. So what we first did was looked at doing really nice pocket door kits. And when we got to pricing those, oh my goodness, several $100 just for like a good aluminum frame kit. Didn't even include the door. We would have had more than 2 pocket doors than every door and a couple of windows and all in this house. So we said, we're just gonna go with some of these basic doors right here. This is pretty much always gonna stay open unless you're using that toilet. And well, it's just gonna swing out in this room. So if it pretty much always stays open, you don't even see the hinges. And most people are gonna say, hey, you know, the hinges are supposed to be on the inside of the room. Well, that's very true, but that's kind of more for an exterior door. It's not like somebody's gonna pop the bolts out of the hinges here and break into the bathroom while you're into it. I mean, come on. This one's really, you know, easy to open and close. It goes into the closet. And whenever I built this wall right here, I made for sure that I left enough room for shelving. So it's over a foot. I think it's about 14 inches out so it can swing open and not hit shelving should we run it all the way to the wall. That wouldn't have worked over here on this side because this wall is a little shorter. Plus, that's where we decided to put the light switch anyways. So yeah, I guess next, as far as these go, we'll go pick out all of our door handles. I need to get some paint on them. Need to put all the trim around it. We're heading to pick all that out too. Y'all pray for me. Trim is through the roof right now. Then the doors themselves are done. All right, well, nothing exciting about this episode, but one more thing off of the punch list right there. All these doors are not laid up against the wall and making a mess in the house. I'm not tripping over them. They're hung. So we're gonna keep finishing this house, knocking it out, and head toward that move-in date.